Hello all, hope you're all safe and fine. Today's topic of discussion will be pleura. Pleura is more important for short notes where the pleural recesses or the layers and subdivisions of the pleura are frequently asked ones. Also, it's a very important clinical topic. Let's cover everything in detail now. Our objectives for today will be a basic introduction about the thoracic cavity and thoracic wall, definition of pleura, its formation, layers and subdivisions, pulmonary ligament, pleural cavity and pleural recesses, blood and nerve supply of the pleural layers, and finally the clinical correlation. So, as I said, the entire thoracic cavity will be divided into two lateral compartments, namely the right and left lateral compartments is called the pulmonary cavities, and a central compartment called the mediastinum. This mediastinum holds the important structures of the thorax, namely heart, covered by pericardium, and the associated blood vessels, phrenic and vagus nerve, esophagus, and thoracic duct. So this holds the most important structures of the thorax. And the lateral compartments hold the lungs, the right and left lungs. So where is the pleura present? The pleura, we know, is a double layered covering which is completely enclosing the lung, right? So let's see this thoracic wall to get more detail. So the thoracic wall begins from skin, from outside to inside. You have skin first, the superficial fascia, ribs between which we have the intercostal muscles, namely the external intercostal, internal intercostal, and intercostalis intimus muscle. You have endothoracic fascia, which is lining the inner aspect of the thoracic wall, and then you have the two layers of the pleura, namely the outer parietal pleura, which is the outer layer, and the inner layer, which is called the visceral pleura, and these two will be enclosing the lung tissue over here. So this will give you the basic idea about where the pleura lies and how it covers the lungs. As I said, it's a double layered membrane which is enclosing the lung, which has outer parietal layer and inner visceral layer. So going to the definition proper, pleura is nothing but a serous membrane which is lined by flattened epithelial cells called mesothelium derived from mesoderm. Okay, this will completely enclose the lung except at the hilum. Hilum is nothing but part of the lung where the important structures like the principal bronchus, pulmonary artery, superior pulmonary veins and inferior pulmonary veins enter or exit the lungs. Okay, so these structures are collectively called the root of the lung, and the part of the lung to which they enter or exit is called the hilum of the lung. So this pleural layers will be enclosing the lung surface except with the hilum. You see along the medial surface you have the parietal pleura which is getting reflected, folded to form to continue as the visceral pleura. Okay, so this is how the pleural layers are formed. Okay, also along the medial side it is not completely enclosing or tightly enclosing the root of lung. This will be extending down as a loose triangular fold called the pulmonary ligament. Okay, we will cover that in the later part of this lecture. Okay, so it will be more interesting if you understand the formation of the pleura. Okay, so basically during embryonic life the pleura will be present as a serous sac on either sides and lung bud developing from the medial aspect. So this is the serous sac and this is the developing lung bud. Okay, as the lung bud develops and invaginates, this will mold the serous sac into the outer parietal layer and the inner visceral layer. Okay, and this is how the two layers are getting formed from the serous sac. You can compare the serous sac to a water-filled balloon as you see here, and the developing lung bud to be your hand, which is pushing through the water balloon. So this compressing balloon will mold itself into an outer layer and inner layer. The outer layer is called the parietal pleura and the inner layer will form the visceral pleura. Okay, so this is about the formation of the pleura. As we already saw, the two layers, which is the outer parietal layer and the inner visceral layer. This visceral layer will be completely enclosing the surface of the lung, and this will invest deep into the depth of the fissures of the lungs too. So it will lie that close to the lung. Okay, but except at the hilum and pulmonary ligament, it will enclose the lung. This forms the shiny outer surface of the lung. And going to the parietal pleura, this is the outer layer which is thicker than the visceral pleura, and this forms the inner lining of the wall of pulmonary cavity. So visceral pleura is completely related to the lung surface and parietal pleura will be completely related to the pulmonary cavity, the inner aspect of the thoracic wall. Okay, So this parietal pleura can also be further divided based on the surface they line, okay, into costal pleura, diaphragmatic pleura, mediastinal pleura, and the cervical pleura. So just from the name you can understand which part they lie, right? So costal pleura indicates its lining along the costal surface, namely the ribs, the costal cartilages, and the associated intercostal spaces. So this is how the costal pleura lies. Also, between this costal pleura and the thoracic wall, you have loose areolar tissue called the endothoracic fascia, and that endothoracic fascia only will merge or will attach this costal pleura loosely to the thoracic wall. Okay, so this is about the costal pleura. Going for the diaphragmatic pleura, this will line the superior surface of the diaphragm. You know, the superior surface will be covered by a fascia called diaphragmatic fascia, which will lie between this diaphragmatic pleura and the cervical pleura. Okay, this is the diaphragmatic pleura. Okay, going for the mediastinal pleura, this mediastinal pleura will form the lateral boundary of the mediastinum, lining all the structures of the mediastinum. Okay, it is along this surface where the parietal pleura will just continue as the visceral pleura. Okay, this is about the mediastinal pleura. And finally, the cervical pleura, which is nothing but extending into the root of lung, right? So this will extend nearly 1 inch above the medial end of clavicle. So if you take this is the medial end of clavicle, and 2 inches above the first rib. Okay, and this extends into the root of lung. This dome-shaped part is actually called cupola, and this will hold the apex of the lung inside. Okay, this will hold the apex of the lung inside. This is more clinically important because it is related to important structures of the root of neck, namely the subclavian artery and the scalenus anterior muscle will lie anteriorly. You have the scalenus medius laterally, and great vessels of the neck medially, and posteriorly you have the neck of first rib and important structures like the T1 spinal nerve, first intercostal artery, first intercostal vein, and sympathetic chain. So utmost care has to be given when you penetrate this surface through an anesthetic needle. Okay, so this is the clinical importance of this layer. So one important subtopic, as we already saw, pulmonary ligament. It's nothing but a loose fold, okay, of the pleura which is extending below the root of neck, and you can compare this to the cuff of shirt or jacket, which will help free movement of the wrist. Okay, so this will be filled with loose areolar tissue and will have few lymphatics. This fold will extend from the root of lung to the diaphragm and lies between the lung and the mediastinal structures. Okay, what is the use of this pulmonary ligament? This pulmonary ligament will provide dead space for the expansion of the pulmonary veins during increased venous return. In case of increased demand for oxygenated blood, much of oxygenated blood will leave the lungs, right, through the pulmonary veins, and in such cases, this pulmonary ligament will provide the dead space for the expansion of the pulmonary veins. Also, this will provide space for the descent of root of lung along with the descent of diaphragm during inspiration. You know, during inspiration, the dome-shaped diaphragm gets flattened, okay, and along with which the lung will also get down. So in such cases, for the descent of these lung root structures, this pulmonary ligament will provide a reserve space below. Okay, these two are the important functions of this pulmonary ligament. Going for the pulmonary cavity is nothing but potential space between the two layers of the pleura. Okay, and this contains thin serous fluid called the pleural fluid, which will be secreted by the lining epithelium. So if you take any cavity in your body, you take the peritoneal cavity lying between the parietal peritoneum and the visceral peritoneum, or the pericardial cavity, it will be enclosed by these two layers and filled with the fluid, right? The same way, this pleural cavity is also enclosed by the parietal pleura and the visceral pleura, and they contain pleural fluid, and this fluid provides lubrication and prevents the friction of the parietal layer over the visceral layer of the pleura. Okay, so then going for the pleural recesses, cavity is nothing but a potential space. What does recess mean? Recess means expanded space. That's it. Okay, the space between the parietal pleura and visceral pleura will be greatly expanded at sites onto reflection onto the diaphragm and the mediastinum. Okay, at these sites the space will be much more extended, and that is called the recesses. Okay, so why are these recesses present? These recesses will act as reserve space for the expansion of lung during deep inspiration. During normal inspiration, the normal space will be enough for the lung to expand and get into, right? But during deep inspiration, for the excess expansion, this recess will provide the excess space into which the lung can expand into. Okay, that's the importance of the recesses. You have two main recesses, namely the costodiaphragmatic recess and the costomediastinal recess, which will understand with the help of the diagram. Okay, so if you see here, this is the costodiaphragmatic recess or the costophrenic recess. Okay, and this is the costomediastinal recess. So we'll first see the costodiaphragmatic recess. This recess lies between the costal and the diaphragmatic part of the parietal pleura. Okay, this will face inferiorly, lying opposite to 8th, 9th and 10th rib along the mid-axillary line. So what is the clinical importance of this recess? So this recess acts as the most apparent part of the pleural cavity in case of pleural effusion. What is pleural effusion? When the fluid secretion, which is the pleural fluid, goes to an excess. Okay, when excess fluid gets secreted, okay, that condition is called the pleural effusion, where that fluid tends to collect first in this recess. So this is the most dependent part of the pleural cavity in case of pleural effusion. Okay, so you can actually diagnose with x-rays, as you see here. This part indicates the presence of the excess fluid, and you can find no costodiaphragmatic recess over here. Okay, and this is the most important clinical finding in case of pleural effusion, because in pleural effusion this sharp costodiaphragmatic recess angle will be obliterated, which is widened, and you can find no such angle. See here, you can find no such angle, right? And this indicates the presence of excess fluid and the condition called pleural effusion. Okay, so what can you do to remove that excess fluid? That process is called aspiration, nothing but thoracocentesis or pleural tap. So for this procedure, you will insert the needle at the 9th or 10th intercostal space. Okay, we know the lung will extend up to 8th rib. Okay, normally, and to prevent damage to the lung tissue, we'll insert the needle in the 9th or 10th intercostal space and aspirate the excess fluid. This process is called thoracocentesis or pleural tap. Okay, so this is about the importance of costodiaphragmatic recess. Going for the costomediastinal recess, this will lie between the costal and the mediastinal parts of the parietal pleura. Okay, if you take the right recess, it will be occupied by the anterior much of the margin of the right lung in normal quiet breathing itself. If you take the left recess, this will be still more expanded because of the presence of the cardiac notch. Cardiac notch is nothing but space in the lung which will accommodate the presence of heart. Okay, so it will be little more intended towards inside, and thereby the space will be much more expanded, and you can find this space by percussion or tapping. Tapping the chest wall from above to below, you will have a change of sound from resonance to dullness. You will read that in your general examination physiology. Okay, we'll see that later. So this is how you have to percuss, and you will find the change of sound from resonance to dullness. Okay, the resonance is due to the presence of lung tissue below, and the dullness is due to the presence of arid space below, and that sound indicates the presence of cardiac notch within the chest wall. Okay, so this is the importance of the costomediastinal recess. These two are the important recesses. Also, you have the retroesophageal recess and infracardiac recess. Retroesophageal recess is nothing but the recess behind the esophagus, where the mediastinal pleura reflects onto. Okay, and the infracardiac recess is one which is found below the inferior vena cava. These two are the minor recesses. Okay, so this was about the pleural recesses. It's a very important topic. Okay, don't forget to go through it. So, going for the blood supply and lymphatics. The parietal pleura will receive all the structures same as that of the thoracic wall. As we saw, the parietal pleura is one which is lining the pulmonary cavity. The thoracic wall completely. Okay, and the visceral pleura is one which is completely enclosing the lung surface. Okay, So the parietal pleura will receive its blood supply and lymphatics same as that of the thoracic wall, and the visceral pleura will get the structures same as of the lung tissue. Okay, going for the nerve supply, the parietal pleura will be derived from the somatopleuric layer of the lateral plate mesoderm. We know all the tissue develops from three basic embryonic germ layers, namely ectoderm, mesoderm, and endoderm, right? So this parietal pleura develops from the somatopleuric layer of the lateral plate mesoderm. Hence, they are supplied by the somatic nerves and are sensitive to pain. They are pain sensitive. Okay, you have different nerves supplying each part. The costal and the peripheral part of the diaphragmatic pleura will be supplied by the intercostal nerves. Okay, and the mediastinal and the central part of the diaphragmatic pleura will be supplied by this phrenic nerve. Okay, this is about the parietal pleura. Going for the visceral pleura, this will be derived from the splaghnopleuric layer of the lateral plate mesoderm. Okay, so hence they will be supplied by the autonomic nerves and are insensitive to pain. They are pain insensitive. Okay, and they will be supplied by thoracic T2 to T5 spinal nerves. Okay, this is about the blood supply and nerve supply of the pleural layers. Finally, we will see about the important clinical correlations. First is the pleuritis. Any condition ending with itis indicates inflammation. Okay, so pleuritis indicates inflammation of the parietal pleura, which is commonly seen in case of pulmonary tuberculosis. Okay, and the other important condition is pleural effusion, which we already saw before. Excess accumulation of fluid in the pleural cavity, which leads to decreased expansion of the lung. Decreased expansion on the side of effusion is called pleural effusion. So if you take this diagram, you have pleural effusion along the cavity of the left lung, and this will result in decreased expansion of the left lung. Okay, and you can treat this condition by aspirating the excess fluid, and that process is called pleural tap or thoracocentesis. Okay, and other important conditions will be pneumothorax, pyothorax, hemothorax, where pneumothorax is a collection of air between the parietal and the visceral layers. Pyothorax is collection of pus, and hemothorax is collection of blood between the two layers of the pleura. Okay, so this was all about pleura. Hope this was helpful for you guys. Keep learning, stay safe, and thank you.